Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your weekend off. FA Cup action absolutely everywhere you looked. It gave us a little bit of a break, but there is no rest for the wicked. We are back with you for Gameweek 22 SC Playbook, the EPL edition. My name Alex Molchanoff. Matty Jurman is to my right. Yep. Matty, enjoy the midweek action. Get any FA Cup into you over the course of the weekend?
Yeah, I did. Saw a Liverpool win this morning, which was good.
Against the might of Barnsley.
Big win against Barnsley. Happened that all day. So, a few nice goals as well. So, yes. Good for the confidence and going into the second part of the Premier League season. So, it should be good.
And a certain Hugo Ekitike back in action as well, which would have made you as an owner very, very pleased.
Good to see. I've held him for a few weeks, hoping for him to be back, and scored this morning. So good for his confidence and his body as well.
Yes, very much so. That spot looking as though it's his. If you can nick it off Cody Kakpo again, we'll see how that all goes. 110 in midweek. It was an interesting round of action because the Liverpool-Arsenal game was a 0-0 draw. There's a lot of defenders around though, so made it a pretty strong scoring week. 110, you're happy enough with that? There were a couple on your bench that scored pretty healthily as well.
Yeah, Senesi scored the best on the bench, 16, but overall not too bad. Had the Arsenal defenders and the goalkeeper and Rice, which helped my score go up, along with you, who had an even better score. So,
well, captaining Gabriel was my bit of foresight. Actually killed me. Well, not killed me. Cost me 8 points. If I'd left it on Holland, that would have done me very nicely. And you had the foresight to bench Mr. Cucurella before his brainless red card, which would have made you very happy. Or is that too harsh? Were you of the opinion it was a bit harsh, or to me it looked pretty clear?
Yeah, I think it depends.
Borderline?
Yeah, borderline, yeah. I think you can go look at it both ways, but yeah, when I did see that, I was very happy he was on the bench, for me anyway.
Nicely done. Yeah, so scores there. We both had Van Dijk in scoring a 9. I'd captain Gabriel. You've got a bit of a conundrum coming your way. James Tarkowski with a 10, probably the only one that can get you there this week. So we'll have a chat about that a little bit later in the podcast. But, you know, a couple of things bouncing around in your head, certainly. And confidence, Mateus Cunha, 7. Darren Fletcher came in. They lost to Brighton in the FA Cup over the course of the weekend, but they're in a 4. Bruno Fernandes is sitting at the point of it. So I think there'll be a few people who haven't spent the funds there looking at that very favourably. I wasn't against Bruno. It was against his role in that system and what was happening there.
So now you're happy.
Now I'm delighted.
You can watch Man United games.
Exactly, with a full heart, except that I can't because I abandoned him long ago. 17 mil, I won't be moving for him just quietly either.
It's a big price, yeah. I think people that have held him, they'll be happy, but it's a lot of money to be holding on your bench.
Well done to SC Playbook's Steve Nikolovsky, and a sign-off for me beating you this week, mate. It's small victories that you get over those guys in the top 500.
It's quite big, yeah. He hasn't lost many games.
No, exactly right. He's sitting right towards the top with Spy and a couple of others in our little private group. You're moving up just nicely as well. You're up another 100. You're 1700th overall at the moment, Matty.
Yeah, get in there. Slowly, slow build. I need to make some differential moves to make some moves up the ladder, I think. Captaining Haaland every week's not really moving too much because everyone's doing it.
Yes.
So you got to pick the right moments to not do it.
Manchester United coming up this week, the early game. Yeah. He'll be at least getting the VC.
He'll be getting the VC, I think. Yeah.
We'll see. It's nice when you get those little double chances coming along your way. A reminder as well, the SC Playbook Open League, we're talking about mini leagues. Our Open League is still there. $1,000 first prize if you're an SC Playbook subscriber. And to become a subscriber, $2 a week, scplaybook.com.au is the website. NRL is getting back into full swing. The boys were in here just before us recording the preview. I know you're big on your NRL as well, Matty, so no doubt you'll be consuming that vociferously as we get towards the start of that season. Yep. $2 a week. That's all it costs. Exactly right. We're very, very excited here at SC Playbook for that. The BBL is coming to a close. Your mini leagues are still there, and the NBA guys are going very well. I think Alex Sumsky, who's recording there, is up inside the top 20 playing the game at the moment. I think he's 17 overall ranked. So you can get plenty of pearls of wisdom from those guys. It all costs you just $2 a week. scplaybook.com.au is the place to go and subscribe in the menu. Let's just wrap up some of the team selection stories more than the results from over the weekend, but Palace are the big story because they were knocked out by 6th tier Macclesfield, heavily rotated team, so I don't think there'll be too much of a worry for owners on that front. As someone who's traded in Jean-Philippe Mateta, I am a little bit worried about that ahead of their trip to Sunderland. I don't think he'll be starting for me this week. But just on that story, the beauty of cup football, all that sort of stuff, and more broadly to Crystal Palace, is falling off a cliff. Part of that, we've talked the last few weeks about the lack of depth. Playing European football has affected that as well. Probably a blessing in disguise for Supercoach owners of their assets that they're out of this competition. It's been great for the media over in England, but just your thoughts on what's going wrong for them at the moment, Matty. It's a lack of goals and then shipping too many, a problem as old as time when you're talking about football. It's not quite striking the same note they were last year.
Yeah, I mean, like we said about, 2 months ago when we said about Palace sort of hitting a roadblock around this time of the season, not having enough players that can step in when they've had injuries and suspensions, and you can see some of their starting players that played every game have been out, and they've really lost those players. Missed them a lot. So, and then like the Matetas and all these guys that are quite popular in teams, they've suffered as well because they haven't had the service. So, when you come down to Palace, I think it's a tough one, but they are getting numbers back slowly. So, I mean, they might, step up again and come back strong. But they've got a lot of quality in that team. So, you can see them turning around. Maybe it's just a bit of a form patch and they needed a bit of a break. So maybe getting out of the FA Cup was tactical.
Yeah, maybe you're right. It was heavily rotated, that team. They've got Sunderland away coming up this week, and then Chelsea. I'd be urging against anyone purchasing anyone up front for certain. But while all that has been happening, they kept a clean sheet against Aston Villa last weekend. They've only conceded I'm doing my quick maths here. 4 goals in the last 4 games. They took Arsenal to a penalty shootout in the AFL Cup before being knocked out there. There is an argument out there that Mark Gay, who now looks to be committed to the club again, despite the transfer speculation, that seems to be the case. The fact he hasn't moved now. I know we've got 2 weeks to go. Is he at all a thought for anyone? We're going to talk a bit more in depth about defenders in a moment, but just on him for certain now, is he in your sphere of thinking at the moment with where Palace is sitting?
Yeah, he's in the idea of plans for the future right now. Even maybe with Cucurella's -5, he could come in for him. So I wouldn't be so off the Palace defense, to be honest. They've actually been not too bad with the back three and the wing backs. They're actually not too bad to have in your team, and they score quite solidly throughout the whole season. So he's someone that I got an eye on, and I mean, you just got to be wary of him getting transferred.
Yes.
If he doesn't get transferred now, he's probably most likely gone for free in the off season. So
I just think they would have done it in the summer. You would have to think, but I don't know. There's still news articles as I type Mark Gay in. They're set to make a decision on Mark Gay over the next week or so. So perhaps you're right.
He's got so many offers.
He's a wait and see. One of the most highly sought after defenders. And you're right. If Palace don't get rid of him now, they won't be receiving a fee for him. So you could argue it's in their interest unless they want to push up the table and towards potential Champions League football. I mean, everything's so tight at the moment. They're only 4 points off picking off a Conference League spot again. Yeah. And I know they were keen to play Europa League after winning the FA Cup. There was that whole drama with Nottingham Forest. They're a very interesting football club at the moment. Let's move further down the list. Ekitike, we've already talked about, back off the bench for Liverpool. Dominic Szoboszlai had an up and down day. He was one of the few regular starters that actually started, scored an absolute worldie, and then produced one of the biggest howlers you'll ever see for Barnsley's lone goal. Florian Wirtz has come off the bench and scored as well. Yep. Gakpo there. I mean, it's Barnsley, right? But I won't be reading too much into that team selection other than the fact Ekitike is back. I think we can expect to see him starting against Burnley on the weekend.
I think so, yeah. I mean, he's too important to that team, especially with Isak out now for a long time. And he's the out-and-out striker that they have at the moment. So I see him starting against Burnley, and I'm glad that I've held because I see goals incoming.
There we go. Heard it here first from Matty Jurman. He's not been wrong too often this year, I'll tell you that much. United played a 4 across the front and lost. Fernandes had an assist. Cunha was back on the wing. Sesko started up front. That's going to be very interesting to watch under Darren Fletcher. A decision set to be made on whether it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Fletcher continuing in that role.
Or Carrick.
Someone was throwing, I think it was Simon Jordan on TalkSport, throwing Roy Keane's name out. I don't think that's going to happen. But Michael Carrick seems to have made, that's right, he seems to have made a late run for that job. So there's a whole slate of changes that could be made there. I don't think they'll be playing the 3 at the back anymore. I think they're going to become a more lethal attacking threat with the change in formation with Fernandes back and with Mbeumo returning now that Cameroon have been knocked out of AFCON as well.
Yeah, right.
I think he's going to be back in time for that Manchester City game on the weekend as well, which is a big boost to them there. I'm not saying make a move on any United assets this week with City coming to town, but in the long term, it could look nice.
Yeah, for sure. I think they do have the attacking players in the front third that can definitely do well for your teams, and for them, importantly in the league, they have Fernandes, sort of the one that's behind all those players and can play those killer passes. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens once all their players are back.
Do you think that's their ideal starting lineup, regardless of who comes in, with Sesko up front? I mean, this is what it looked like they were signed to do. Sesko up front and Mbeumo off one wing, Cunha off the other, and Fernandes in the 10.
I think so. That's probably their strongest lineup in the front third. So, but you haven't really seen them play together.
Why has it taken so long?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the question that I think a lot of people have been asking, but. Now the coach is gone, maybe it'll happen.
He can get on the same page with sporting director Jason Wilcox, who's been in the media very much so this week. Arsenal completely rotated. Martinelli scores a hat-trick for them, and Gabriel plays 76 minutes and comes off. I think we can expect they've got an EFL Cup game coming up in midweek against Chelsea, the first leg of that. So we'll keep an eye on the teams there as well. Make sure scplaybook.com.au, $2 a week, gets you access to the WhatsApp group that's keeping you up to date with real-time teams, information, injury news, all that sort of stuff, rather than just listening to us blabber every week. And City, an interesting one, because they got Newcastle in this EFL Cup round during the week. A full strength, almost, not quite full strength, but pretty close to. Haaland started up front. Doku coming off the bench. Cherki and Reinders both playing through midfield. And very interestingly, Antoine Semenyo, as predicted by Matthew Jurman, starting on the left wing ahead of Jeremy Doku. So I'm not sure if that's a sign for the future, but if you did hold on, baby. This could be a really interesting ride now.
Yeah, it could be a great hold, especially against, playing for Man City, an attacking team, playing on the left. They've spent big money to bring him in. I see him sort of flourishing under Pep Guardiola and having those players there to play with as well. So could be more assists, more goals for him.
Who knows? I'm going to keep a very interesting eye on this. So Foden didn't play in that FA Cup game. I think he'll play in the EFL Cup, and I think he'll play on the weekend against Manchester United. That's going to be very high priority for City as they look to try and make up that ground in the title race. Excuse me. Okay, let's get to some of the most traded in and traded out this week. Igor Thiago is sitting top of the list, and I want to talk to you quickly about him, Matty, because you're having an assessment in your front line. We were talking before the podcast. I said, do you actually need to build any more cash? And you're like, well, he'd be the one. 11.3 mil. I think he is now past the point of, okay, trade him in, trade him out, all that sort of stuff. I think he's a season-long hold. This is a... who were some of the players we were mentioning a couple of weeks ago? Wilfred Boney. Who else can you look at? Guys who've just had those wonder seasons and then have taken off and maybe gone somewhere, maybe haven't. But Boney's the one that springs to mind that just took off in that season for Swansea City about 10 years ago. Was fantastic for FPL owners in that season. I think Igor Thiago is going to stay very much in that category for the rest of the year. Brentford are built for him to score big week on week. He had that short period where he was not shooting as much to a couple of our colleagues' frustration, but I think they are what's the word I'm looking for? They are malleable enough. They are, flexible enough for him to be able to have games where he drops deep, plays that Harry Kane role, and then do as he did in midweek last week, where he's just getting off the shoulder and causing havoc for defenders one-on-one. He's a terrific, versatile forward.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he was a mistake trading out.
But and for me too, earlier in the year, right?
Yeah,
everyone who's done that, I think, has felt the same.
He's a gun, and to be honest, I didn't realise how far Brentford were up the table until I recently just checked it again. And it's been a few weeks, and to see him, I think they're fifth now on the table, and that's mainly not all because of him, but his goals have really helped them go up the table. So. Yeah, I really think he's going to be a season-long hold now, and if anyone's got him, I definitely wouldn't be trading him out.
And it's been the guys around him as well. We mentioned them a couple of times because they've shot up on the back of what he's done. Kevin Scheider's up there doing a really good job. Lewis Potter on the other wing, since he's been moved forward there, has been superb. They're a brilliantly run club. I just have so much admiration for Brentford. Even the fact they moved on Thomas Frank, who they had for so long there, and have just been able to pick up without a hitch. When you look at the effect that moving on players and coaches had on Bournemouth and Brighton, who are often the two teams grouped together with them, the way that they have gone to another level after losing their long-time manager this year has been quite astounding, and a massive credit to the way they're set up. Having said that, a trip to Stamford Bridge to take on Chelsea this weekend. Interesting game.
Honestly, that game could be anything, really. Yeah. And Thiago could still score against them. So
I've got the odds up here. Brentford are paying $4.60 for those of you who like a dabble. That is well overs for me, particularly where both of them are sitting on the table and some of the performances Chelsea have put in recently.
Yeah, I think people wouldn't mind getting on that one.
Gamble responsibly. What do you know what you're about to lose, all that sort of stuff.
Brentford, yeah. I mean, I can't see him dropping anytime soon. Like, playing against Chelsea away, I can still see him, getting a point at least.
Yeah. I tend to agree, and I think they'll score with the way that Chelsea are defending at the moment. It's very loose. There's a lot of upheaval in that back line. Cucurella out is only going to add to that over the course of the weekend. That could be a big opportunity if you can stump together that 11.3 mil, or you're looking sideways from one of your attackers. That might be the option. Matty Cash is the second most moved in at 8.5 mil. He's been playing well for Villa. You've had him in at different stages this season. I don't think he's a regret that he's traded him out, but now that Aston Villa have hit top form, he's getting forward and providing plenty of value up front, and Villa are just totting up a clean sheet every now and then as well.
Yeah, I think Villa, obviously they're in good form, and Cash has, he's had a few goals and a few assists to his name as well. So I can see why people are trading him in. Just want to have a look at who they got the next 3 games. Everton, Newcastle, Brentford. So not the easiest games, to be fair, like on where they are on the table now and how they've been playing with clean sheets and stuff. So, but yeah, Villa have been playing well as well. So they're actually quite good games that are coming up.
I've got an interesting dilemma in my backline this week because I've moved in Lindelof to try and get the cash gain. Pau Torres started during the FA Cup game that they played on the weekend, and now I'm looking at that going, okay, I need to move him. If he gets on the field, his break even is -4. So there's a chance that he plays 20 minutes, then I just get a little bit more fun money to play with. But there's a few options that we'll talk about with you as well around Tarkowski and some other players that are moving around there. But defenders seem to be under the microscope this week.
Yeah, I mean, Lindelof could still start. You never know. Maybe they don't want to push Torres to play 2 games in 1 week. Maybe not. After being out for how long was he out for?
He was out for about 6 weeks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So you never know. Obviously, he's there probably starting centre back that they'd rather, but he might play on the weekend and get you that score that you need. Well,
Ezri Konsa, who I've talked about as the disaster merchant, sitting there at 5 mil as well, but has stood up next to Lindelof while Power's been out. So who knows? Let's move to a player a few more people will be having thoughts about. Bruno Fernandes, 17 mil. The change in formation means a change in role for him, a more attacking role, one that should produce even more consistent returns. Yep. The base stats will be interesting to see just how that holds up because he has been making a lot of interceptions, playing a lot of key passes, that sort of thing during his time as a holding player. You've spent the money that you took out of him when you traded him out. Any thoughts about stumping that back together? As the 17 mil just a mountain too high at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to do too many moves, I think.
And you've only got, 14
trades.
trades left?
Less.
Give us that number. What are you down to?
Let's have a look. I'm at 10.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they are literally like gold at the moment for you.
I'd love a minus. I love a Fernandez red card on the weekend.
Just to bring him back down to earth.
Give me some minus points. He's projected to lose 1.6. And he's got Man City, Arsenal form. So could be a few low scores coming, hopefully.
Yeah, break even of 34 this week, so he's not going to reach that. Yeah, I tend to agree. The 17 mil, so Man City, Arsenal, the next two. Wow, yeah, that's a hold off for now, and just wait for him to drop back down. Who knows? Knowing Bruno, he could come in banging a double against City, and we're all sitting here looking silly.
Derby games, you just never know what can happen. So
exactly right. Exactly right. Urian Timber continues to draw plenty of people's attention, 8.4 mil. He's taken the benefits of that Calafiori injury. Bruno Guimaraes is now at 13 mil. Been good for owners that have held on to him through this nice little run. Steve Nikolovsky described him as a little bit lucky. And taking that, because he's a Newcastle fan, Stevie, so he's watching every week. Yeah. I'm not going to trade him out ahead of Wolves away, although they have been improved over the last little while. That's not coming from a very high bar, though. And at 13 mil, again, if you've got play money out there, he might be the one to bring in. Gabriel sitting there at 12.9 mil. As I mentioned last week, I just didn't think I could miss out on him going into the game against Liverpool. There was a chance he'd score. He got the clean sheet. He hit the side netting from about 6 yards. So I don't think I was too far wrong about that. Mark Gay, we've already talked about. Declan Rice is sitting there at 11.3. These Arsenal assets are absolutely critical if you're thinking about moving up the top. I think you and I can both attest to that, Matty. Our ranking rises have basically been down to stacking our side as much as is possible and practical with Arsenal players in this run.
Yeah, and not so much even the attacking ones. It's mainly the defensive ones for Arsenal that you need to have in your team. I feel like at the same time, that if they do a couple goal, you sort of lose a lot of points. But if you look at their track record so far, it's gone quite well. If you've had them in your team, you've had a lot of clean sheets so far.
The last one I want to talk about very quickly is Harry Wilson, who snuck in 10th place. And when I did the podcast with Tim Williams probably 3 game weeks ago now, he said, what are your thoughts on Wilson? Like, would he be an interesting option as a pod? And I shooed him away from him, going, Fulham's form is not going to keep up. This guy can't keep going as he has. He has been untouchable. Every game he's played, every opposition, he looks as though he's going to be picked up by somebody bigger. That is how impressive his form's been. And if you are looking for a pod, you can look in worse places. This guy's just over 11 mil. They go Leeds away, Brighton at home, Manchester United away, Everton at home before a visit to Manchester City. That next 4 weeks is a real run where he could continue to pick up form and pick up points. He's got a break even of 5, so that price is likely, with that trip to Leeds coming up this weekend, going to go even higher. Let's just have a quick look at his last 5 scores. We'll go back to the Burnley game at Turf Moor where he scored 31. He had a 4 against Nottingham Forest at Craven Cottage, then went 14 against West Ham, 4 against Palace. Every second week he is recording double digits, and not just double digits, but big ones. 11 against Liverpool, 19 against Chelsea, where he was superb in midweek for Fulham. Anything else you can add to that, Matty? I mean, how do you get there is an issue, but if there's a player you don't like in your midfield at the moment and you're looking to move through a pod, I think Timmy was ahead of the curve. I think he's the man.
Did he end up listening to your advice?
I believe he did.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
And he's kept away. I'm sorry, Tim. Please get me on the pod for next year.
I think you can even see like he's fixture proof at the moment. He's scoring against Liverpool.
That's it.
So yeah, I mean, even against Man City, you could still pop up with a goal or assist. So yeah, I can see why people would bring him in, and I wouldn't be scared off on the fixtures. So he's someone that you could definitely rely on at the moment.
They've just been superb for them. And this is the interesting thing, right? Because the middle of the Premier League is so even. Brentford are sitting in that 5th position, as you mentioned, Matty, on 33 points. There is, 5 points between them and Everton in 12th, 6 points between them and Palace in 13th, and then you're down to sort of your Tottenham's, Bournemouth, Leeds, Forest, who are sort of getting dragged into that relegation race week on week. But between Brentford and Everton, really for me, and you can even include Palace, I know they've had a poor run, but they started this season pretty positively. I think with them easing up in terms of their fixtures in the new year, if that's what happens, they could well see a turnaround as well. If you identify value in any of those teams, back yourself, I think is the message from us.
Yeah, definitely. I think, when it comes to the end of the season, obviously there's a lot of teams that want to get into Europe and they're fighting for spots. Obviously, you got the lower teams that they're fighting for relegation, not wanting to go down. So there's a lot to fight for coming to the end of the season. And, you can always pick those bigger players that have been stepping up for their teams, and hopefully that you pick the right one, and
yes,
they drag you home as well.
That's it. People looking to really jostle for positions now, so having to make some riskier plays, especially with less trades in the bank as well now. Mm-hmm. There's going to be moving period for those who have held trades late on in the season with some of those guys right up the top. Let's have a look at most traded out and warn some people off, because this is an interesting list. In the top 5%, most traded out over the last time that we've had between the end of that game week on Thursday and now is Hugo Ekitike at 10.9 mil. There's not too many better options out there in the forwards for him, and he looks to be fit and firing again, as we mentioned. So I'd say hold off.
I think people will be looking at bringing in Thiago.
Yes.
That's the only move I can really see that makes any sense to doing that. But obviously, once they see the game this morning, I think they'll be maybe reversing, especially with the game against Burnley coming up. So, yeah, interesting times to see if that percentage stays the same before the actual game week starts.
It's an interesting one to hold him, right? Because Liverpool have got a home game against Burnley coming. Brentford are travelling to Stamford Bridge, which, as we talked about, I don't think is as risky a fixture as it might have looked at the start of the year, particularly with the overhaul at Chelsea. Who's more likely to come out? I'll give you that. Ekitike, Thiago. This week you can only have one. Just this week, who's scoring higher?
Ekitike.
Okay, there we go. Matty Jurman reckons the hold with the Everton striker, given the fact he is back. Right. Then we've got the City players that continue to tot up. Vardiol there at 10.2, Diaz at 9 mil, both still injured. Then Ryan Cherky, 11.1 mil. You're an owner, Matty. What are you thinking about him this week ahead of the Manchester derby?
I see him having a big game this week.
Yeah.
I think he starts against Man United, and I think he has big influence on the game. Either a goal or assist for Haaland. But yeah, I mean, his price has come down a little bit since he shot up a few weeks ago. But that's okay, because I feel like he's got a few big games coming in.
United haven't kept a clean sheet in 5 games. That was a 1-0 win against Newcastle at home just after Christmas. They've drawn against Wolves and Leeds, conceding in the last 2 weeks, and then had a 2-2 draw with Burnley at Turf Moor before conceding 2 more against Brighton, who have not been in the hottest goal-scoring form recently. That doesn't bode well for a game against Manchester City, particularly if they're in top form for me. I
agree. And, that's probably that run of form that you just spoke about is probably why the club got rid of the coach. But, in saying that, with the new manager coming in, maybe that changes things, and maybe one of the things that he needs to do is fix that defence.
Yes.
And build on some clean sheets for that team, because that's maybe one of the issues there. And then with Fernandes moving a bit forward, he can unlock some of those new transfers that they've brought in.
Or even old guys that haven't been playing. Manuel Ugarte has been much maligned by Manchester United fans. Kobe Mainoo's there. That brings us nicely to Patrick Dorgu, who's sitting there at 9.7. There was a nice little cash grab there. He is projected to lose quite a bit of cash over the next bit of time. He's been moved back. He played a fullback position against Brighton on the weekend. His break-even is 10. He's projected... So I get this up to actually gain money. I don't know how they've come up with that, but with Manchester City and Arsenal coming to town, I won't be taking too much notice of that. I think the time to have Patrick Dorgu in your side at the moment is gone, and you can pick up much better options in your back line for the 9.7 mil on offer for him. Jared Bowen is there at 7.5 mil. Not a heap of midfield options I like around that price though, Matty. And as an owner, with a trip to Tottenham coming, I'm inclined to hold there as well.
He scores this week.
He scores this week. There we go.
Yeah,
Heard it here first.
Tottenham West Ham, I think, ends up being a 2-2 draw or something like that. And Bowen will get on the goal sheet. But yeah, I think Tottenham just don't know what they're doing still. A lot of the fans what the coach gone, and it's funny that they're feeling like that because of how they've they were happy about getting rid of Ange. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So interesting times at that club. I feel like there's always something going on there.
Yeah, understandable that most are moving off Mark Cucurella after his red card. Antoine Semenyo, we've had the conversation about. And just one quickly, Phil Foden, 9.8 mil. I jumped on about 15 mil. Might have even been more than that from memory. The assists and the goals and the output has disappeared after that run where he's having 20 every week. Has his form worried you? It seems as though Cherky is taking on a little bit more of a mainstay role and taking on more and more responsibility. Foden's still playing through the middle, though. Can you see a turnaround? I'm inclined, again, to hold there just because the ceiling we've seen already this season is so high.
Yeah, it's tough. You don't really want to trade a player like Foden out, especially with the season he's had so far. And he's going to be really instrumental to the way they finish the season. So I wouldn't be trading Foden out. But if you are a believer in thinking that he's going to stay the same as the last few weeks in terms of no goals and assists, then go for it. But yeah, I mean, who do you trade him to? That's the issue.
Sideways move to Cherky is the only real one I could think. Odegaard's still sitting there at a price that is gettable. As I get his stats up at the moment, he's at 9.8, so that could be a sideways move that some are considering. Arsenal's run of fixtures is not too bad, and obviously you don't want to have completely battered your midfield in terms of Arsenal players, but I think a combination of Rice and Odegaard, we've been in favour of that all year, and I think that's when Odegaard has been fit, has been not the riskiest way to go, but a pretty safe option that's provided fairly consistent return for owners. And that takes us nicely to the trade plans for this week. Game week 22. Matt Jurman has 10 trades left. Are you planning to use any of them?
I'm thinking of something. I don't really see it too sideways like we spoke about before, but maybe Tarkowski to Gabriel.
Yes.
Just to sort of strengthen up that defence a little more in terms of what he can provide with goals and assists as well, as you've seen in the last few weeks. And I feel like Arsenal are more inclined to have more clean sheets than Everton in the long run. So I'm thinking that one. And
have you had a look at Everton's run of fixtures?
I have, and they don't look too bad.
No, they don't look too bad at all. Villa away, Leeds at home, Brighton away, Fulham away. There's a few away fixtures in there where Everton, I don't know, sometimes seem relieved from the Hill Dickinson pressure cooker that they're under there.
Yeah, so if I don't pull that trade, I'll be looking at maybe a Cucurella to Mark Gee.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I'm sort of hoping for Cucurella to bottom right out when he comes back, and maybe use him as my Lindelof trade. So I've got a few options there. I think I'm going to hold on and not make any this week. Lindelof is really the only one in my line of sight at the moment. There are some options there that we talked about. Tyrick Mitchell's around a price I can get him. I need about a $6 million play to bring in. Not sold well enough on Palace's defence to do that. Jeremy Frimpong played well for Liverpool this morning and scored.
Could be an option, yeah. He could be an option if I was to trade Cucurella out. I could bring in someone along that price. Frimpong could be a good option now with Conor Bradley out for the rest of the season as well.
Arne Slot has not exactly liked him as an option over the course of the season so far, but who knows? There are times that's right, limited options. Doesn't want to play Szoboszlai there, and who knows? New year, new Jeremy Frimpong, maybe. Won't be making that move yet.
He did buy them.
Yes, that's a good point.
So you can't dislike him too much.
This is an interesting conversation that happens now, and we don't have time to get into it here, but did Slot sign him, or was it the recruitment guys ahead of him? Was it the director of football? That's
something we won't really know until maybe after Slot's gone and he speaks out or something like that. But Yeah, I mean, the signings they did bring in, they obviously took a while to come in. Frimpong was the first one, I think.
Yeah.
And then the other ones, came after. But, interesting to know, like, the directors and the coach really need to get along in terms of the transfer business they do. So if it's not going to fit the coach's style of play, then, why are you bringing him in? But I sort of feel like he was a replacement for Trent.
Yeah.
But he obviously is a bit different to the way Trent plays in some ways.
I wonder if they did that thinking he's a like for like and then actually had him at the club and went, oh, you would hope not, right? You hope, he's not out of the way. He's in Germany,
exactly.
Not difficult to get a hold of those games.
The way they scout players and stuff is pretty crazy these days. So I think, you can sort of compare on all these computer systems and I've seen it firsthand with a few coaches I've had, and it's pretty insane. So I'm pretty sure that what they have is a lot more
at Liverpool
intense.
would be even more so. Just from a personal point of view, before we finish up, is that who you're still talking to when you're in conversations with clubs about signings now? Are you talking directly to the manager, or is it generally a CEO or a director of football?
Usually, I'm getting feedback from my agent. Really.
Right.
So the agent's probably talking to the director of football.
Okay.
It's never really the coach, So the coach knows yes or no if he wants him to come, or so really that's how it goes. The agent speaks to the director, and that's how they get the business done, and then the coach is happy or he's not.
Or he's not happy. That's right. You find out pretty quickly, don't you?
Yeah. Usually the coach has a bit of an idea on some targets that he wants, and he wants the director to go after him. So.
You would hope they're aligned, but
you'd hope so.
It's not always the case. As we've seen at Chelsea and Manchester United, a lot of the reporting has been that part of the reason both those coaches went is because they weren't happy to just acquiesce to what their bosses wanted from them, which is very, very interesting.
Even not EPL related, but Xabi Alonso is gone now.
Same thing at Real Madrid, right?
Yeah, 7 months he lasted, and that's quite massive news.
After taking Leverkusen through a season unbeaten. That's I can't think there's too many better managers. Best luck to you, Mr. Arbeloa, who has taken over there in Spain. We've got sidetracked. Yes. And Dan Burn was the last one you were asking about. He's still got a couple of weeks out, reportedly, with the rib injury, but he's sitting under that $6 million mark. If he comes back into that Newcastle side, their defensive record's been really good. He could be one you hold out for if you've got room on your bench for a Cucurella or a
Livramento was the other one that I was asking you about, but you said he got injured again.
Yeah, he got another soft tissue injury, went off during that game, during that FA Cup game on the weekend for Newcastle, which is really disappointing. We've talked about our admiration for him on this podcast all season, and he just needs to stay fit. He'll be a lock for the England team one day if he can get his body right.
Yeah, I agree.
Fantastic player. Right, captaincy plays. This is what we're here to talk about. What are you thinking ahead of the weekend? Erling Braut Haaland and Mr. Ryan Cherki have an early kickoff against Manchester United. Thoughts there?
I'm thinking a VC on Haaland.
As am I.
And either a C on Ekitike.
Yes.
Or a C on Declan Rice.
There we go. So Liverpool taking on Burnley and Arsenal taking on Nottingham Forest. I'm thinking similar. I'm sticking the captaincy on Gabriel has not dissuaded me whatsoever. So he's getting the C. That could change. I mean, Szoboszlai is an interesting one. Played really well this morning despite the error. Has a week to recover. Liverpool don't have any of that midweek action that some of the other clubs have got to get around. And Declan Rice against Forest, I think if he's putting a ball in, it's landing on Gabriel's head. So that's my thinking behind the C there. And double figures from Haaland, I'm probably holding him rather than rotating through that. Everton have the kickoff on Monday morning Australian time, so plenty of time to get that loop done, unless you are going to one of those guys playing on the Saturday night / Sunday morning. I think that pretty much completes our chat for this week. Nice to have you back, Matty. Best of luck for the weekend in your own fixtures. Who you got this weekend?
Central Coast on Saturday.
Lovely. Enjoy that.
Up there, so.
Nice little drive up to Gosford.
Yeah,
no better.
A nice trip.
Nowhere's better to be. And then back to taking some Premier League action, no doubt, over Saturday and Sunday nights. We'll be back with you next week. No more midweek football for a little while now, so we're back to sort of the week-on-week turnarounds. Make sure you're tuning in via Stan Sport, listening to us again next week. We'll be back with all the fallout, all the news, the interviews, the preview. Well, interviews not really, but the previews with Matty. More predictions. The crystal ball will be out, and hopefully you go well this week. But for Matty, myself, the team at SC Playbook, it's goodbye. We'll be back next week.